Ralph Osterhout, come on up. Ralph is a great pal for many years. We had a lot of fun hacking on toys of tomorrow together at MIT, and he continues to invent wonder after wonder.
Can you hear me okay? I want to share some things with you. How many people in this audience have a laptop right now? How many have one, period? Okay, and tablet, and smartphone, tablet, and laptop right now. Haha, well, I don't need to tell you, you're the cognizant group that understands where things are going. Not everyone does, and I want to share a few things with you. I know. Like I said, you're the gifted ones. So let me tell you, in time, a lot of people had an idea, what could I do different? And if you look at laptops, they did everything. They were lighter weight and faster and brilliant, and the screens had wonderful resolution. And then you did smartphones, and oh my God, the resolution was remarkable on them. And they were quick as hell. And they were as fast as a laptop was maybe 5 years ago. And now you have a tablet. So what are you seeing here? You're seeing an ebb and flow of technology whereby we seem to get smaller, and then suddenly we're getting larger again. What's this really about? I believe that there is a different view that you might want to embrace when it comes to computers and such. Number one is all computers today really communicate, and virtually all of them can entertain us. So if they can, is there anything left for us? Is there anything we've overlooked or any other possibility that we might embrace? Well, I think this guy had a vision, and unfortunately there are certain limitations. And I don't think an extension cord dragging behind him like a tail is necessarily a detraction, but some might find it. Some people, well, let's put it this way. This man will never need condoms. I'm positive of it. If you think it's only the public and mad inventors, you're so wrong. Trust me, this is nearly the latest piece of equipment that the Army is embracing. And believe me, it's not their fault. They need to be saved from themselves. Okay. You need to understand, these other guys were smart. They were all engineers. MIT was one of the people who absolutely pioneered the idea of a worn computer. Look at this guy. Don't tell me he didn't have a big idea. That's only about 70 years ago. But what if we took this idea for entertainment, communications, and one step further? And what if we made it look something that's remarkably like what we know today and might wear many times? What's the moral of the story here? We're really talking about computers becoming an accessory to our lives, not driving our lives, not controlling but accessorizing. And in the act of accessorizing, enable. And how might it be? This was not achievable, very candidly, just a year or two ago. Imagine what you see in here as an example is a high-speed system on chip that carries two 1.5 gigahertz cores. You have a 600 megahertz digital signal processor here and a micro SD card that contains an enormous amount of storable data. Here you have a tiny little blue ribbon that doesn't look like much, but it has 28 tiny microcoaxial cables, not much bigger than a human hair, necessary to transport the data from this system on chip here through a thing called a microprojector, where literally 180 times a second you're essentially cycling through red, green, and blue to create a complete full-color image that's injected into a curved optical waveguide. Now, I can assure you, a lot of people say it's quite impossible. Air Force Research Labs absolutely assured me it's impossible. But it is actually possible. In fact, there was an enormous amount of work that was done in the world of augmented reality and virtual reality. What's the difference, really? Virtual reality is you have no connection, essentially, to your outside world, and augmented, you enhance it. The problem with virtual reality, it was a huge hit in 1995, and bang, in about 2004, it flat disappeared. And why? There was a tiny little problem that people found out is that when you disconnect a person's brain from their environment so there's no longer any reference, you get to wear your lunch, or you can have tiny little permanent brain changes that allow you to see things that no one else has ever seen and you will be seeing for the rest of your life. So suddenly, all the Japanese companies and lots of other consumer electronics companies put on their track shoes and ran for the hills. Well, it turns out augmented reality should be looked at perhaps a little different way. What if we inject things into your real world that somehow make your world more interesting or help you in some fashion? So there you see all the guts of this. And if we were to now essentially take this guy and go one step more and put it on top of our head and let us disappear now into the computer, what might we see? And what might happen for us? What if you could store in your glasses that weigh 4 ounces 100,000 books of your choice, 10,000 pieces of music, 1,000 viral videos that you create, because, of course, that is also a camcorder with high definition that you can drop directly to YouTube at your leisure, or 100 of high-def favorite movies of your choice, all in the glasses, all the time, so you can entertain yourself, or you can generate information anywhere, anytime, anywhere in the world. What if you walk down the street in any single city in the world and you can have a virtual tour of all the monuments, all the museums? You know what everything is that you're looking at within reason because the information is accessible and how. Literally, that device that you saw connects with both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to any smartphone or any phone virtually that has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi as well as 3G. And it enables you now to essentially go to the internet, collect information at your leisure, share it with anyone virtually anywhere. And now you have the capability of generating information, generating entertainment, calling up limitless data virtually anywhere. But why would really glasses become all that interesting to you? Well, let's say, what might we do that's really different if we have simple, essentially very simple here, and I hope you can see this okay, applications and possibilities that come up on your glasses in your view. You have a tiny signet ring, not much bigger than a class ring, that has wireless, fully encrypted communications with your glasses that drives the cursor at all times. And of course, because it's Android-based, it can be driven by voice active. If you've ever had the pleasure of using it, you find it's remarkably accurate, and it learns and gets smarter and better. So now it can show you, if you happen to want to meet someone with coffee, you can exchange by words, or the spoken word, or of course your tiny cursor controller indicate to someone where you want to meet them and what you want to do. And this is the point of view from inside your glasses, because it becomes just like a pair of sunglasses, an accessory and a part of your life. If you want to know how to navigate, of course, it can show you precisely how to get there and steer you essentially in real time till you get where you want to get. Now the key is, if you notice here, and I want to show you, do you see a darkened area? And this is very important here. This is a layer that is controlled opacity. In other words, you have, of course, a high-definition 8-megapixel camera there that sees the ambient brightness and decides it's going to let you know how much contrast you need automatically. So it changes this layer right here that you see and enables you to maintain high contrast so you can see the imagery that the glasses are projecting. Now, if you happen to be on a train or a bus or a plane and find it extraordinarily boring, as I do, you can have the choice, of course, of sifting through your email with wireless connectivity, of course, and you have a phone, of course, that can answer right through into the glasses in your pocket. You can also enjoy yourself a bit more and say, all right, maybe it's book time. Pick one of your 100,000 books that you have stored in them. Imagine everything you've ever read and ever could read for the rest of your life times 5. Now imagine you can be outside. It's a nice day, but it's a little boring. It's overcast. You're not going to get a tan. So you sit down with a nice view and you watch your favorite high-definition movie. But this time, it's in cinema 3D quality. What's the difference? You're not alternating left-right eyes through LCD projector glasses. This is continuous high definition to both eyes in real time. Now, maybe you're at a hotel room, and it's a grim hotel room, and you're into gaming in a big way. So you turn your room into a combat zone or the game of your choice. It doesn't matter if you're gathering jewels or chasing angry birds or whatever it is this week. The idea is you're not going to be limited because you choose to decide what you want to do and where you want to do it. Of course, it's a high-definition video recorder. So now you're on vacation, and you can record anything you want, anytime you want. And because, of course, it has high-speed Wi-Fi, and you can also use your cell phone, you can connect to a hotspot or through your cell phone instantly and dump into YouTube your viral video du jour. Even more than that, think of all the videos that are on YouTube, and now 3D ones that you can download in your glasses, and look at cinema quality 3D that's rich, vibrant, and in color. Now you say, I'm into action sports, somebody's calling me, my hands are free. I can see who it is and choose to ignore them or take the call and hear them perfectly. Because if you notice the earbuds way back when, those are 3D articulating earbuds that have noise canceling and automatic gain control, so it shuts out traffic. Now, some people find jackhammer noise in construction zones appealing. I'm not one of them. So it's nice to have that isolation if you so choose. I should tell you that also has 3D sound. So now you're creating three-dimensional sound around you. So if you're playing an action game, you hear helicopters coming in around you. You hear the sounds of tanks and gunfire if you're a guy. If you're not, it's something else. But the point is that you control the environment, and essentially you take your environment with you. We talk about augmented reality. This makes it a little bit more meaningful for you, because now you can see, why not avail myself of that little special? Now, maybe you're a public service and you can't drink. There you have an opportunity to consider the public servants who are not allowed to drink on the job. Importantly, augmented reality can allow you to shop, think about things in a different way, and imagine. And isn't imagine, if anything, a beautiful thing? Look at the car, sort of a car of your dreams. You're thinking about it. You'd love to have it. Its time may be coming. It's your choice. Now remember, with things with augmented reality, you can shut them off or turn them on anytime you want. There's also conversations that have been had and a lot of things in the press about how do we feel about facial recognition, biometrics, is an invasion of privacy. And I'd really like to talk to you about that for a moment, because I don't think it is. We saw a very touching video here of an old gentleman whose wife had passed away. The guy was consumed with melancholy. You saw him go to church, but how could he reach out to anybody? He was so consumed, and as you get older, it gets harder and harder to remember people. What if your family and friends have loaded in all their images into your glasses and all your neighbors? So when you go to church or you walk down the street and you look at somebody, their image comes up in the glasses. It tells you who they are and the association to help you not become disconnected from your environment, society, and your friends. What if you have a child who's outside having a grand time and you are reading a book, sitting outside in the lawn chair, and the child tripped over a sprinkler and sliced open their ankle, and now they're profusely bleeding because they hit a shallow artery. And you want to apply direct pressure. You'd love to get an ambulance if you need it or some help, but you also don't want to lose the comfort and the direct pressure on the child. Imagine now being able to look at the wound and say triage or first aid, and now it calls up by looking at the leg, recognizing it, sifting through the thousands of pages of first aid, and tells you precisely what to do while you are doing the direct pressure and protecting your child and showing the loving attention that's going to comfort them. You're calling the ambulance and getting help. It goes more than that. As we get older, you'd like to know, and I'm 65, I never thought I'd be a buzzard, and I keep waking up thinking there's got to be a mistake in my birth certificate, but I find myself occasionally forgetting people's faces. So one, I'll apologize to all of you that I looked at you strangely. At the same time, 60% of the population at 60 years of age suffers from macular degeneration. That's a frightening number. That means there's simply areas in your retina you can't see anymore. So what do you do in a case like that? Imagine you enhance a person's ability to see day and night. Why? Because there's a sensor technology here called shortwave infrared or SWIR that has been frighteningly expensive to the tune of $20,000, $30,000 for a VGA sensor that's going to be out next year and be so inexpensive that they can fit in a pair of glasses. It now allows you to see from 400, and you love this, essentially 400 nanometers to 1400 nanometers, which means you can see from the lower end of visible through near infrared into shortwave infrared. And why do you care? Because when you get up at 11 or 1200, you can see through fog and smoke and haze, as long as the particle size is not more than 0.9 microns. And typically it's about 0.6 or 7. So imagine the ability to see through fog. Imagine the ability to see through smog and haze if you're a boater, if you're out walking, if you're driving in cotton tule fog. So how about the concept of you taking back the night and low visibility? So now imagine you have a situation where you can be here anywhere, anytime. You don't happen to know where you are, but you don't worry because you have a GPS receiver in the glasses, of course, and it's telling you in real time what your latitude, longitude, and elevation is. Importantly, it's also letting you see wherever you are. So now you don't feel so disconnected from your environment and not apprehensive. So we can go one step further and say, where's this technology all coming from? Of course, the military. No big surprise. Now, everybody in the past, there's been a lot of groans when I've spoken about the military. And I remind people, when you spend $1 trillion of taxpayers' budget, and you come up with things like high-speed processors, DRAMs, every kind of conceivable thing that we take for granted in our electronics, and you don't think it's a good idea to use that electronics and the technology to enhance your lives, you should pull down your pants and spank yourself till you bleed. The fact of the matter is the technology developed by the military is stunning. Furthermore, if you take an organization like DARPA, and I know the director is here, in fact, DARPA looks for technology to fund to not only advance Department of Defense initiatives, but also that has relevance to the consumer and commercial marketplace, because the government is funded by our taxpayers' dollars. And the more utilitarian and the more profound the impact of the technology can be, the better it is in the eyes of DARPA, and certainly, I think, in the eyes of society, if you have a brain in your head. So if you say, what could we do with this thing? Now take a look at the kind of imagery you get. Not this green stuff. And listen, I'm responsible for the green stuff, because I did the PVS-7 and I did the ANVIS 6 now 26 years ago. And night vision like that looked like a bean can strapped to your head. It's pretty grim. So now if you look up here, imagine you've got modular sensors that snap into the glasses that are completely sealed environmentally. It allows you to see essentially from daytime with no blooming into the areas where you can see through fog and smoke, and now you have thermal imaging. The new generation sensor here is going to be 11.2 micron pixel size. Interestingly enough, the director who's here had the guts and intelligence to push her staff, and I'll give her full credit for this because I found out about this by accident, to say, no, you can't develop a new modular 17 micron pixel size, I want it 12. Well, that was a brilliant thing to do for several reasons. One, it's now small enough and high resolution enough that you can put it into glasses and put it into very lightweight devices that can profoundly affect soldiers and the consumer. So now, let's keep going. Those red-hot images you see there allow you to see through, of course, smoke and haze, and pick out a body in a downed building in an emergency where you've had a catastrophic earthquake, or, of course, in a military environment. So there you see military navigation right here. Here you see it in the world you talk about, the consumer. The same guts, the same sensors, just different software. Now here you see the case of being able to do triage. And we're putting a sensor in the glasses that real-time monitors ion shifts in your skin and your cells every time your heart contracts. And we can read non-invasively your heart rate instantaneously without touching you. Now, how beneficial do you think it is that an accident scene to look at bodies on the ground in various stages of wounding and decide who can be triaged and saved and who can't? Now you see here, you have Blue Force tracking in combat. So day or night, you know where your buddies are, your team members are. Now, you're out skiing, and of course, no one ever gets caught in an avalanche or ever gets lost in snowstorms. But if they did, it'd be very nice to know where they are in real time. So what happens now is timing. Now, this may look like sort of a hocus pocus or imaginary. It'll be delivered, and the first ones will be in the hands of soldiers this summer. And we're building them now. Interesting enough from that, where does this go from your standpoint in the consumer? Sooner than you think. Thank you.